connoisseurs of movies, TV series, and literature. You ready to shake things up? I am. For those of you who don't know me, you may call me Luke Garou. For those of you who do know me, welcome back. I'm glad you are here to savor my opinions on all things movie, TV, and book. Now, this time we are tackling a book, and it is Light in Banality. Just kidding, that's what I'm calling Anne of Green Gables. Because, boy, does the world Anne live in portray a very banal attitude. Ordinary, mundane, boring, slow, totally lacking in creativity. That's Green Gables until Anne shows up, I swear. Now, I am reading this because one of my subscribers requested it. And I'm so bad. I'm so sorry. I forgot which subscriber. Thank you, camera lady. It's Shaylee Bear 13. She helps me go through these things all the time. She helps me with my comments in section 2. So, Shaylee Bear, here's the first half of Anne of Green Gables, because as you can see, it is a thick, bloody book. It's thick, and I don't have as much downtime to read as I would like. It took me from the time Shaylee Bear requested it till now to get this far. Now, this novel was written by Lucy Maud Montgomery, and when it first came out in 1908, L.M. Montgomery, because back in the day, it was very uncommon for women to be journalists or novelists. They technically weren't allowed to write for anything except for ladies' gossip columns where they focused on things like your hair, your home, your fashion to keep your husband happy, how to raise your kids. Yeah, all the things that you're a failure as a woman if you can't do 50 million things from the time you wake up till the time your husband gets home. Those type of columns. Now, for those of you who have never heard of this novel or the movie mini-series that they made, did you just say a TV show on Netflix? They're remaking it? Wow. That's news to me.
It's called Anne with an E.
So my camera lady just told me that it is on Netflix called Anne with an E. And it follows Miss Anne Shirley. And yes, she spells her name with an E. Who is purchased. You heard me. She is purchased from an orphan asylum as a laborer for Matthew Cuthbert and his sister Marilla. Unfortunately, the person who procured Anne for the brother-sister duo of the Cuthberts thought they needed a little girl instead of a young man to help Matthew in the fields. Boy, were they not happy. Especially Marilla. Marilla was livid that she got a girl. Because she's going, what the heck do I need a girl for? I don't have any kids. All the house chores I can get done on my own. I need a boy to help Matthew in the fields because he's as old as I am. And yeah, they're old. It never actually gives a specific age, which is fine. Yes, this novel does have pictures. Not all novels have pictures spattered throughout. But Matthew, however, is such a quiet soul that he finds Anne's endless, imaginative chatter fascinating. He is absolutely non-romantically, non-sexually enamored with this girl. He would do anything to protect her. She has become his daughter, his niece, his whatever. He wants to keep her. Because he honestly thinks Marilla needs more of a companion than Miss Rachel Lynde. Boy, that neighbor is a busybody yeah, she's a busybody gossip. She has opinions more wild and extreme than I do. Now, I will not lie. This book is a slow read. Why? Because Anne likes using 10, 20, 30 words, where 1, 2, 5 should be sufficient. But because she's so articulate and bubbly and imaginative, this girl turned a reflection into a best friend. That's how imaginative she is. Has prompted at least once a chapter somebody new to call her queer. Never once were they using it to reference her sexual orientation. They meant it by the original definition of the word as odd or weird. And it meant nothing more, nothing less than odd or weird until somebody decided they were going to start insulting people that were different. So what should have been a fantastic word to describe someone odd or strange or weird, they turned it into a derogatory, oh, you're that. And now it's coming back around as a positive as people are trying to reclaim it. But, like I said, for the original definition of the word, it fits Anne just fine. Because she is very much an odd, strange little duck. Now, I've made it so far as to her being in school. I want to punch her teacher, Mr. Phillips, in the face. Instead of spending all his time teaching the younger students that are just coming in, he ignores them in favor of helping the ones that are about to graduate. And what's really bad is that instead of focusing on the ones that are graduating that could use his help, he's focusing on one young lady in particular. And he's using, because she's about 16 years old. Yeah, imagine graduating from school at 16 and going to your university until you're 20 at the oldest before getting a job. Yes, the time frame of the book. It's, like I said, 1908 is when it came out. And so, yeah, this takes place in 1908. So, schooling was from 8 or 9 until 16. That was regular school, all in one building. And then you would go to university from 16 to 18, 16 to 20, depending on what you wanted to do. And this teacher is in his mid to late 20s at the youngest. And he is glomming over this 16-year-old girl. Is cringy by any era's standard. I don't care. But the sister, stand up pup, of the young lady in question said, oh, he's just using the tutoring as an excuse to court her without ruining her chance to go to university. Could you imagine your teacher dating you under the guise of, God, nowadays the teacher would be arrested and thrown in prison no matter the gender. But he was allowed to do it because there were no laws in place to say a dude in his mid-20s is not allowed to date a girl who's 16. Thankfully, there are laws now because that is gross. Now, what makes him a bad teacher, not just for that behavior? He enacted a rule that said all the students needed to be in their seat before he... Now, aside from the way he's treating this particular 16-year-old girl, Mr. Phillips is a horrible teacher because he enacted a rule, which was a pretty good rule. All students needed to be in their seats before he returned from lunch. Excellent rule. Very wise to have all your students present and accounted for right when lunch ends and you're ready to start teaching again. The problem comes that when the rule is broken for the very first time, it was 5 boys being late and 1 little Miss Anne Shirley. And he singled Miss Anne Shirley out because she still had her flower wreath hanging on one ear. So 6 students broke the rule, but he only punished 1 of them. And he punished the girl. That's sexist. I don't care who you are. What was really cool is when Miss Rachel Lynn found out that that was part of the reason why Anne didn't want to go back to school. She agreed with Anne that that was a horrible thing for him to have done. And she said he should have punished all of the ones that were late or none of them. He ought not to have just singled out your little troublemaking orphan. Yeah, she loves Miss Rachel Lynn. But the first time Anne met Miss Rachel Lynn, Rachel started tearing her apart because, well, I don't know if you can see it very well. She's a ginger. A long-haired ginger with freckles, and she's really skinny. She started making comments about her height, her weight, her freckles, her hair color, and those are all topics that Anne is really sensitive about. So she lailed into Miss Rachel Lynn. And when Marilla told her she needed to apologize, the most epically given, insincere apology ever written, in my opinion. It was an apology worthy of Shakespeare's sonnets. And she didn't mean a word of it. That's what's so funny about it. Now, Anne met a young lady named Dana Barry. They are the best of friends. Oh, my bad. It's Diana Barry. Those two, I get those two names confused so badly. I do. They're only 1 letter apart in spelling. But she and Miss Barry are the best of friends. And little Miss Barry cannot stop talking about a young man named Gilbert Blythe. He learns the hard way that Anne's red hair is indicative of a very nasty temper. Because not only does he tug on one of her braided ponytails, he calls her carrots at the same time. That makes her react by taking her chalk slate a good chunk of smooth rock that you write on, the precursor to modern blackboards and dryboards, and smack it over his head. Oh, did she get in trouble? Yeah, she broke it. And slate is not the hardest of stones, but it's also not super fragile that if you press on it, it breaks. You need to put a good amount of effort to break it, especially over something as moldable as a person's head. But she and Diana are such good friends that they have their own first tea party together. This dinner and tea goes horribly wrong because Marilla said, use the raspberry cordial. It should be on this shelf in this cabinet. Anne's looking and she finds a bottle. So, not knowing what raspberry cordial tastes like, it's not labeled, she brings it out with 2 glasses. Now, these are not cute little cordial sherry glasses. These are big snuffer cups. And little Miss Diana, who absolutely adores raspberry cordial, helps herself to not 1 snuffer, not even 2 snuffers, but 3 snuffers. Big. Think of the coffee cup I usually have sitting right here where my little Hogwarts cup is. Yes, it is a Hogwarts cup. Yes, my camera lady, that is about the size of a snuffer in its bowl part. She had that 3 times over. Now, even if it was raspberry cordial, she would have had a massive stomachache because cordials were known to be super sweet. Little Miss Barry consumed 3 large snuffers full of currant wine that Marilla made and kept for medicinal purposes. Madame Barry was livid. And instead of blaming Diana for taking so much and coming home hammered, this little girl was 3 sheets to the wind, drunk. Because we're talking about a 11, 12-year-old girl having 3 large cups full of wine. Back to back to back on an empty stomach. She didn't even make it to the food. She got herself so drunk so quick. Now, Marilla did feel bad because when she got home, she immediately went down to food storage and found the raspberry cordial had been put away properly. So she, forgetting that it had been put away, told Anne, hey, it's the red liquid in the cabinet. Anne gave her friend the red liquid from the cabinet. And Anne, having neither had raspberry cordial or currant wine, couldn't stop her friend. She couldn't say, whoa, that's not cordial. But Mommy Barry didn't care. It was all Anne's fault because she's a worthless orphan and she needs to stay away from her family. Well, thankfully, Anne, being bounced from house to house to house, learned way more than the average 11, 12-year-old would learn nowadays. because she was in one house where there were many, 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 many small children. And Anne learned how to successfully treat croup, which comes in handy because baby sister Mary is suffering badly from croup, and the babysitter they got to watch her didn't know what to do. Yes, my camera lady reminded me that I need to tell people what croup is. It is a very nasty lung infection that, if left untreated, can kill you, especially back in 1908. Now we have antibiotics and different medications, but this poor little girl had a massive fever. She was coughing up handkerchief full of phlegm. This poor little thing was a fish out of water. Her lungs were so clogged with mucus that she would have been dead by the time the doctor arrived had Anne not started treating her as soon as she arrived. This little girl was really, 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 really flippin' sick. And this is back before there were telephones. I mean, the most modern conveyance was a sorrel mare pulling a buggy. That being said, the Barry children were with a nanny, a babysitter, because 99.9% of the adults were at a town meeting to see a big to-do visitor. And if you want more details, read the bloody book.
Far out of town.
Yes.
Town meeting.
Yes. A day to travel there and a day to travel back type town meeting. These adults were not expected to be home before morning. That is how far away they were. And to make matters worse, it was the middle of winter in Canada. That should tell you how the weather is going in such a location. So, because Anne was with Matthew, he was one of the people that could have cared less about visiting or seeing who was there. Marilla left, and Miss Rachel Lynde left, but Matthew stayed. And when Diana showed up and said, "Hey, my baby sister's sick. The babysitter doesn't know what to do. What am I going to do?" Matthew dispatched himself in the snow to find the doctor. And Anne grabbed everything she knew she would need from having treated the other children and ran to the Barry house. Again, in the snow. Yes. And to make matters worse, because she got Diana drunk on currant wine, she was not supposed to be anywhere near that house. Well, Anne stayed awake all night treating this little kid. And trying to reassure the babysitter that she did nothing wrong, and should she have to babysit again and this comes up, this is what she would need to know. Now, the doctor shows up with Matthew and takes over. But not before he says, "Thank you for doing such a good job in helping this young lady." Because when Mommy and Daddy Barry come back from the meeting, the doctor straight up says, if this child had been left untreated, by the time I arrived, there would have been nothing I could have done for her. So here you have this poor child hacking up gobs of phlegm with a high fever, with only an inept babysitter, no phones, no means of communication other than person to person in the average home. And Mommy Barry about darn near squeezes the life out of Anne. She's so grateful for her help in saving her baby's life. All's forgiven about the wine. She's welcome to go back to being friends with her daughter. It was all over. Back in the good graces. So long as that child was alive, Anne would be, woohoo, raging hero. Yes. About the long and the short of it. Because right now, I am just about to start chapter 19. Yeah. Still have summer allergies. I hate being a mouth breather when I sleep. In chapter 19, it's called A Concert, A Catastrophe, and a Confession. And that's where I am going to pick up reading. And having heard this rather choppy, botched description, will you start reading Anne of Green Gables? Will you look up and find the old TV miniseries? Will you look up and find the new miniseries on Netflix? Let me know what you think. I mean, I know more of what's going to happen because I've seen bits and pieces of the miniseries. But I want to see how it plays out in the book. So you're not getting spoilers for parts that happen here. Kindness is the key to understanding. So be kind to me, be kind to each other in the comments. Rescue the like and subscribe button from the zombies. Bang that bell so the zombies go towards it. Then run the other way so you can tend to their injuries in safety. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye!